Yeah, I see it's a lot of stuff on the net that's iffy at best. But back in Queens or South Jamaica, we had a couple of guys that in and out of prison that had seen a few things. And then there was a few odd boxers here like Cut 'em Loose Bruce, Mike Livingston, and a couple of the Five Percenters that had a kind of unusual style of boxing that was pretty interesting. One thing was it had every person that was doing it had their own sort of broken rhythm with it, but it appeared to me to be something that developed out of something they learned from other martial artists, or some people like to say it came from wherever. I never heard that before. It wasn't that many Africans in the States back then. The thing is, everybody has their own way of fighting, no matter where you go. Even Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, there's a slight difference to the fighting style when you see people fight. A good fighter will always have his own individual way of doing things sometimes. But this particular 52 blocks was like a real kind of sharp angle style where they would do a lot of dipping moves. I fought with a couple of guys in there, and they would do stuff. They would move their bodies in unpredictable ways, but their attacks would come from different angles, and then they would dip. Sometimes they would do stuff like throw up a hand, like this could be a block here, and then they would back slap you, and then come around with this hand, but it was always leaning and dodging. It wasn't like they were trying to block you. They were more or less sometimes play the wall to try to get you to attack, and when you come in, they might crack your fist with an elbow or come around with this hand. They would beat down on the leg, and they had, it was like a broken rhythm type of fighting. But I only knew 3 people that could really do it effectively. I met this one cat from Brooklyn that I had to use a lock on because they had one move in particular that was almost like the monkey style motion. And he was pretty good. He kind of gave me a run for my money, and I had to caught him in the wrist lock. When he went back this way, I stuck and rolled the wrist and then took him down on the reversal. But like I said, I met one guy, he did the 52s. He could box 2 or 3 people at a time. That was a sight to see. Oh, but Justice still quick. Even Shabazz was mentioning he sparred with Justice a while back. Because Justice, his hands were like lightning. He was always relaxed, but he always read the Wing Chun book. And he said he got his power from his feet. He instinctively learned how to press his feet and root himself so that his moves were very smooth, and he kept his shoulders relaxed at all time. Just remember, he used to knock people out. Everybody he fought, he knocked out. This was before Tyson's time. And he was quick. He had speed. But Ghazi was good too. He knew a lot of stuff. Now, they want to know some information, they need to speak with Ghazi because he was a Muslim and dealt with the 5 percenters a lot back in those days, and he knows a lot of people and a few other things we won't talk about on this YouTube. And he was a good fighter. He had met me also. He was studying, he was doing a lot of stuff, and he was a good martial arts. Most of the Muslims studied jiu-jitsu and Chin-Nas, and actually a lot of people don't realize that a lot of Muslims knew certain Kung Fu styles back then because there's a Muslim part of China, in northern China, where there's lots of Kung Fu. So these guys were fighters, but like I said, I studied with some B.P. Chan is still one of the baddest mofos I've ever met in my entire life. God rest him in peace, he's gone now. And William Chen and C.K. Chu, they're two of the baddest Tai Chi people I know. I've met a lot of other masters, and people talk about them. They don't like their style, but like I said, style doesn't mean anything. It's knowing how to use. And like I said, 52 was a rare thing. It was only a handful of people that knew it. There were 1 million of people in the street trying to imitate it, but it wasn't 52.
Today, like it's catch on the day trying to imitate.
The guys who knew 52 would put your lights out. No, I know somebody who originally knew the 52s from back in those days who was with Mother Dear, who a lot of people think didn't exist, for those who really, but there's they don't want any publicity, or they don't want to get involved with all of this stuff. But I may talk to them and maybe get some more information. But remember, this stuff came out of prison. Nobody was writing shit down. There was no history of who taught who what. It was just the way I taught you guys. Older brothers helping the younger brothers out who were coming up behind them. And the streets were rough. Sometimes a nice person who wasn't really into street life, you want to make sure he could cover himself, because you had to fight on the way home from school and all kind of crap. And we did it from charity out of our hearts. It wasn't about reputation and violence. It was self-defense.
So you got it. Rhythm, spirit, and inspiration. Peace.